When you're thinking about planting your fall food plot, it's most likely going to contain some sort of brassica, and for good reason. It's one of the best and most attractive things to plant in the fall. They are easy to plant and are fairly tolerant of most growing conditions. I think about the only thing they don't grow well in, they'll still grow, it just won't be as productive, is poorly drained soils. They are great at mining nutrients and breaking up hard pans and loosening up the soil if you plant the right variety. They're not only good for you, they're good for the deer. And speaking of helping the deer, they are about 25 to 35% crude protein and are highly digestible, and they are a great attraction throughout most of the hunting season. But which brassica variety should you plant? It's probably the most asked food plot question, regardless of what species you're wanting to plant, and there's so many choices out there that you could end up with some analysis paralysis. Really, they're all good options, it's just that some varieties are better suited for different situations. So in this video, we're going to go over the 4 main types of forage brassicas and which ones you should plant for your specific situation. But before we go over these different brassica species, do me a favor, and if this is your first time on my channel, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you click that bell icon so you can be notified every time I upload a video. And don't forget about the $10 off Tooth of the Arrow Broadheads for my viewers by clicking the link below. And the first brassica variety that we're going to go over is probably the most popular or second most popular, and that is turnips. Turnips are a staple of fall food plots, which is why they're the most popular or the second most popular. They're usually planted in combination with radishes, which we'll cover in a bit, but you can plant them alone. I prefer to plant a blend, but you do you. They produce literal tons of forage between the leafy greens and the taproots, which makes them ideal for those smaller food plots, which most of us have. They also tend to not get browsed on until later in the season because the leafy greens can be a little bitter until they mature. This means that they will last longer into the season and be a great attraction when food sources are scarce. They do best in well-drained soils with a neutral pH, and they don't require much soil prep. Since they're a small, hard seed, you can just broadcast them and then drag or cultipack them in ahead of a rain. That's a common theme with all these brassica varieties. They're very easy to plant. Hunters in the north and south can grow a productive plot because they are fairly cold tolerant. I firmly believe that every fall mixture should have at least some turnip component. The second brassica variety is a very common one, and it's one I just mentioned, radishes. Radishes are another amazing species of brassica. Just like turnips, they have a leafy top and a large taproot that can grow over 2 feet long depending on the variety. This makes them great at breaking up hard pans and increasing organic matter. Just like turnips, they are extremely easy to plant, but they don't like wet soils. But unlike turnips, they are not very cold tolerant. So if you're up north and temperatures dip pretty low, you might want to skip this variety. And also, unlike turnips, radishes tend to be more attractive during the early season. And that means that if that's what you're wanting some early season attraction, they're a great option. But if you plant them alone, you're probably not going to have a food plot left come late October, November. I really think you should plant these only in a blend. That way you can complement the early season attractiveness of radishes with something that shines a little later in the season, like turnips or a cereal grain like oats or winter wheat. And the third brassica variety is rape. Seems weird to name a plant rape, but even with the weird name, it is a great food plot forage. Think of rape as turnips without the taproot. They grow a massive leaf that can be up to 30% crude protein. Just like the other brassicas, they are highly digestible, and they tend to get a little more attractiveness as they mature a little bit. If managed well, it can grow over 2 tons of forage per acre, which is nothing to sneeze at, but I think what makes this a great food plot variety is that even with the tons of forage that it produces, they can grow basically anywhere and are very tolerant of the cold. This means that if you do not have a deer density problem, you can have a great forage well into the hunting season. And the fourth brassica variety commonly planted in food plots is kale. Kale is not only for your health, but it is supposedly a great food plot forage. I don't have any experience with it, but I thought I would include it in this because it is commonly planted, especially for hunters up north. Kale is basically rape, but extremely cold tolerant. So again, if you're up north, it is a great option. My typical fall food plot mixture has radishes, turnips, a couple of clovers, and a cereal grain. Although this year I'm going to experiment in one of my other food plots. I used to have a pretty bad hard pan problem in both of my food plots, and one of them I've really broken that up. So I'm going to replace the radishes with rape and see how well that does. So that was the 4 most common brassicas planted in fall food plots. If you plant brassicas in your fall food plots, let us know which species you prefer down in the comments below. And also let us know if you plant a pure stand or if you like to plant a diverse mix. Hit that like button if you like this video, share it if you found it helpful, and make sure that you are subscribed so you can stay informed.